Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We've heard a lot of excellent speeches so far, so I'll do my best to contribute as well. Here at ADGM, we believe we have a pivotal role to play in furthering the UAE's national efforts to achieve a transition to net zero emissions by 2050. Sustainability is a key priority for ADGM, and therefore it is my pleasure to speak to you today about our contribution to race towards net zero. We're all now aware, particularly as COP27 comes to an end, that the green transition requires funding, and the capital expenditure required cannot come from the public sector alone. The green financing gap, it's estimated to be $2.5 trillion per annum, just in emerging economies alone. To bridge that gap, we're going to require a collective effort from all sectors of the economy, both public and private. This is where the role of an international financial centre, such as ADGM, plays a critical role by bringing the demand for and supply of finance together. Our robust and progressive world-class legal and regulatory framework makes ADGM a destination of choice for issuers and investment vehicles to raise capital. Our location, set within a thriving economy at the meeting point of East and West, provides us an enviable proximity to the flourishing markets of the Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, even Europe and beyond. This is why ADGM matters when it comes to achieving net zero. With that in mind, I'd like to provide you with an overview of our journey so far, the foundations we've built and the exciting developments that we see ahead. It's a journey that has already become where we've become the first international financial centre to become carbon neutral in 2021, to host the world's first regulated voluntary carbon exchange and clearinghouse. Our journey hasn't just started today or yesterday. It started a long time ago. And for ADGM in particular, we kicked it off in January 2019 when we published our Sustainable Finance Agenda. That agenda had 4 pillars. Those pillars were regulation, awareness, cooperation, ecosystem, race. Since 2019, ADGM has delivered on various measures under each of those pillars. And I'm going to briefly touch on each today because there's a lot more I could say, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But on regulation, we all know finance is about trust, and sustainable finance is no different. If investors can't trust green credentials of investment products they are offered, in other words, if they are too wary of greenwashing, they are going to be reluctant to invest. This reluctance starves the green transition of needed capital, which is required to make net zero a reality. That is why we have gone about establishing a regulatory framework not only for carbon markets and environmental instruments, for carbon offsets and credits, but also rules and regulations on green investment products and services, which is crucial to investor confidence. Next is awareness. In order to build that awareness in 2019, we have hosted Abu Dhabi Sustainable Finance Forum, part of the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, the region's principal sustainability conference. ADGM has also developed the ADGM Sustainable Finance Platform, an online solution which importantly looks at ESG data published by companies in the region. This platform supports the local and international drive towards increased transparency in sustainability by enabling users to access and compare companies' ESG data. Next, we have cooperation, and we've heard a lot about cooperation and collaboration to date so far, and we'll hear a lot more. We've been a protagonist in fostering collaboration with public and private stakeholders, achieve synergies and advance sustainable finance. Together with a panel of leading UAE authorities and financial regulatory bodies and exchanges, ADGM helped establish the Sustainable Finance Working Group to support this collaboration. In November 2021, the working group published its high-level statement outlining how members of that particular working group and more widely will each implement regulatory measures to contribute to sustainability. And only last week, that same working group, during COP27, published an update on its efforts in this space, including, very importantly, the group's ongoing collaboration to develop a green taxonomy for the UAE. Furthermore, the Abu Dhabi Sustainable Finance Declaration, a collaborative framework launched in 2019 by ADGM in collaboration with the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, the UAE Central Bank, Securities and Commodity Authority and others, now has 80+ signatories, all committed to its goals. The declaration has been signed by public and private sector entities, and today we will be welcoming a number of new signatories. Moving on finally to ecosystem. The FSRA is in the process of facilitating the establishment of the first regulated voluntary carbon exchange and clearinghouse. We're doing so by enabling carbon offsets and credits to be treated as regulated financial instruments. This will be an important tool to help organisations, whether in the public or private sector, to offset their emissions as one tool, only one, to achieve carbon neutrality. There are many others, of course, while never forgetting the need to reduce emissions before they occur. We've all seen retail investment managers starting to offer portfolio management that targets investment in assets that contribute to the green transition. And to continue to nurture this growth of green products and services in our ecosystem, last week we issued a consultation paper on a new regulatory framework for sustainable finance. This provides structure against which products and services such as these can continue to grow. I will take this opportunity now to briefly outline what was in that consultation paper. The proposals create regulatory frameworks for 4 types of sustainability-focused investment products. These are investment funds, managed portfolios, green bonds and green sukuks. Our proposals on investment funds encompass the region's first regulatory framework for green investment funds to channel capital towards environmentally sustainable activities. We have incorporated measures that require the use of third-party definitions for green, such as published green taxonomies that are internationally recognised, as an objective measure to harness investor trust and protect against greenwashing. We have also proposed a truly innovative framework in what we call climate transition funds. Importantly, these funds will not invest in already pure green assets. Why is that important? If we're going to get to net zero, we must facilitate the movement of capital and assets that are not currently environmentally sustainable, but are on a journey to get there. This is an essential component of the transition to net zero, as a great majority of investable assets are not currently green, and we have to find a way to divert capital to them in order that they can become green. We're the first mover and innovator in creating this type of framework. These green and climate transition investment types have been expanded in our framework to manage portfolios for retail clients, enabling investment managers to offer to manage client savings in a way that channels their savings towards the transition to net zero. We believe investors will orientate towards managers that adopt these standards, in turn increasing the assets under management and thus increasing investments towards green transition. It's a regulatory framework we believe is a win-win for all involved. Further, our green investment proposals encompass a framework for green and sustainably linked bonds, again with an externally verifiable standard set against which the instruments will need to comply to ensure investor confidence in the offering. Green bonds are an important source of financing for both the public and private sectors and are part of the transition effort. A sizable market in green bonds already exists globally, and ADGM is already a location of choice for entities to issue bonds and sukuks. Our vision is to expand ADGM's offering into a centre of green bonds and sukuks, with both public and private companies establishing entities here to issue and to offer sustainable debt. Our framework doesn't stop there. The additions to our legal framework will also encompass the region's most comprehensive framework in ESG disclosure by a wide set of commercial entities based in the ADGM. ESG disclosure are critical to ensuring companies accountable for their footprint on the environment, society, and their commitment to good governance. That is why our consultation paper sets out a framework for any large ADGM-based commercial entity to disclose its ESG data in an open, transparent fashion. It is the first time in the region that such a comprehensive regime has been proposed and aligns ADGM and the UAE at the forefront of what is becoming global best practice. Naturally, we have built in the necessary flexibility to help ADGM companies adapt and transition to this new framework, such as by starting with a comply or explain framework of disclosure. However, we have proposed in our consultation paper that our intention is to move to a mandatory disclosure framework. However, that will happen when the time is right. In conclusion, we aim to become a location of choice for companies, government entities and investment vehicles to raise capital to fund green projects and activities within the UAE and beyond, and for environmentally conscious companies to demonstrate their commitment to the need to reach zero by disclosing their impact on the environment and becoming carbon neutral. These are significant ambitions. They will require commitment and endeavour, just as achieving the net zero emissions will require commitment and endeavour from us all. Many thanks for your time today. Net Zero 2050 is a race. It's a race against time, but it's also a race that all of us as individuals, organisations and governments must participate. Thank you very much.